Well, good morning, Grace. Glad to have you guys with us this morning. Is there anybody here? Do we have any visitors or any guests who are with us for the first time this morning? Anybody here with us for the first time? All right. Well, this morning is going to look a little bit different. We have Matt and Jeannine Condon with us, and we're excited to have them back. It's a little over 2 years ago that they left to go to Papua New Guinea, and so they're here with us this morning to share the things that God has done in the same way that Paul and Barnabas on their way home from their first missionary journey stopped in at Antioch to the church that had sent them out, and they reported of the wonderful things that God had done. Matt and Jeannine are going to be able to do the same thing with us this morning. And those people in Antioch, they heard and they praised God for those things. And so I think as you get to hear their stories this morning, you'll do the same. And so Matt and Jeannine, I want to just turn the time over to you guys.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, so good to be back, you guys. So good to see all of your faces. I mean, it's been a long time, over 2 years. And so we've been back for just about 2 weeks. And we're so grateful to kind of share some stories with you guys today. So, like Nate said, this is my wife, Jeannine. My name's Matt. We have 2 kids, Laura and Patrick, which are in Sunday school right now. And we've been in Papua New Guinea for the past 2 years, serving with an organization called Samaritan Aviation. And so what I'd like to do this morning is kind of, for the people that don't know us, kind of just share how this whole journey started. And then for you guys who have been following in this journey with us, just kind of share what we've been doing for the past couple of years. And so it kind of all started back in 2017. We were attending Grace at the time, and the Geddeses were doing their commissioning service to head out to Costa Rica. And during that service, he said, hey, maybe some people in the crowd today are interested in missions, and maybe this can kind of spark a fire. And it really did for Jeannine and I. And so shortly after that, we had our gifting series here at Grace, where kind of Jeannine and I got to solidify our gifts. And then shortly after that, Nate had been back for a while now from church planting, and so we were able to introduce ourselves to Nate and then kind of share our hearts about. At that time, I was a police officer with the city of San Diego, and Jeannine had just recently quit being a respiratory therapist. And so we just initially thought, hey, what kind of short-term mission can we go on? I had some vacation time saved up, and so that was our initial thought. So we met with Nate, and then he invited us sometime in the beginning of 2018 to meet with the elders. And that's kind of where we just didn't know what we were really talking about, but we had a desire to serve. And so the elders invited us to go with Nate to the Philippines. And so this is now in the July of 2018, we were able to go with the Ingolstads to the Philippines and kind of see what they had been doing. And so Nate was able to introduce us to an orphanage. We went to a missionary school. We were able to meet some supply buyers, some people that operated the guest house. I was able to go with Nate into the bush to see the church that he had planted, and we were also able to meet some aviators that were working with new tribes. And so that trip that we did to the Philippines really just opened our eyes up to what missions is about and really kind of what long-term missions looks like. And so we came back. We had a lot to chew on. During this time of seeking counsel and praying, Nate went to some kind of mission program or something, and he met a guy from Samaritan Aviation named Tim, where Nate was able to kind of introduce who we were and what we wanted. November of 2019, or actually throughout 2019, we really decided to switch from a short-term thing to a full-term thing. And so the end of 2019, I retired from the police department, and then we focused on what we wanted to do, which was going to be mission aviation. And then from 2020 all the way through 2022, I just was doing a lot of training. And so to be a pilot in the mission field requires a lot of hours and a lot of training and a lot of certificates. And so as a family, we traveled from Alaska. We went to Washington, back up to Alaska. Many of you guys from the church have served up there, so we're grateful for that. And then after Alaska, we went to Colorado and then to Michigan. And then finally, we were kind of done with all of our training, and it took about 3 years to do all of that. Mark Palm, who's the founder of Samaritan Aviation, met with the elders in the beginning of 2022, and then shortly after that is when we decided to go with Samaritan Aviation. And so then we started fundraising and preparing ourselves to go to Papua New Guinea, which we did in November of 2022. So Yeah, so now we want to talk about Samaritan Aviation a little bit. So this was when our first trip up to Alaska back in 2020. So we loaded up and headed out there, and that was kind of the start of all of our training. So Samaritan Aviation is a very small organization. We currently have 3 float planes in the East Sepik province. We have a 4th plane here that's getting ready to get shipped over, hopefully next year. And what we do is we try to be the hands and feet of Jesus by providing free access to Medicare and Medivacs for the people of the East Sepik province. So, I mean, honestly, in 2017, we didn't even know where Papua New Guinea was. And for some of you might know as well, it's about 65 miles north of Australia. It's the 2nd largest island in the world behind Greenland, and it actually shares half of the island. So the east side of the island is Papua New Guinea, and then the west side of the island is Papua, Indonesia. Papua New Guinea is separated by a bunch of provinces, and then we actually operate right where that blue WEWAC, that's the East Sepik province, and that's where we operate at. Some crazy things about Papua New Guinea: there's over 840 languages spoken. The cool thing, though, is there's a main trade language called Tok Pisin, and pretty much, 80% of the population speaks it. And so when we're coming and going along the river, we're able to speak Tok Pisin to the majority of the people there, which makes it very nice so that we can learn one language and be able to talk to most of the people there. So there's about 600,000 people that we serve in the East Sepik province, and they pretty much all live along this 700-mile long river called the East Sepik, or the Sepik River. So about 80% of the population, it takes about 1 to 3+ days for them to get to WEWAC. And so, like I said, the majority of them have to take either a canoe with rowing a canoe, or some motorboats, and they have to go all the way up to where you can see those 2 orange lines, which are the 2 roads, to get access to the one hospital there in the East Sepik province. So personally, I've landed at about 50 different locations along that river. And what we try to do is, all those crosses are aid posts, established aid posts. And so we try to get all of our patients to go to one of those locations, because then we know that it's a safe landing place. So I flew about 370 flights over the 2 years that I was there, and I flew just over about 500 hours of actual flight time. A huge important thing for us is that our team. So like I said, we're a small team. We have 4 pilots, 1 mechanic, and 1 country director. But not only are the pilots and stuff doing their job, but all the wives have a very important part as well. One of the wives is in charge of our finances. Another wife is in charge of our hospital ministry. We might say house sick during this conversation, and so if Jeannine or I say house sick, it just means hospital in Tok Pisin. And so, yeah, Jeannine helps out as well with the hospital ministry too. And then we have some incredible national employees that help out in the hangar, the hospital ministry, and around the base and stuff like that. So let me go back to this slide really quick, sorry. So Samaritan Aviation was founded in 2000 by Mark Palm, and then our first flight was flown in 2010. And so as you can see, this is life flights per year and patients flown in. And so we've steadily been increasing as we've been able to get more pilots, more planes, and stuff like that. And so my first year flying in 2023 was actually our record-breaking year, where we were able to fly in the most patients, so that was pretty cool to do. There definitely wasn't a shortage of flying, which I appreciated. So going back to our team, I think this is one of the main reasons we were able to be healthy during our 2 years there, is because we have an incredible team. They're pretty much like family to us. Our kids call them aunts and uncles. We look at their kids as our nieces and nephews, and it's just cool to hear all of these people have been called to Papua New Guinea to serve, and we all just have this vision to just share the gospel. And so it's been such an incredible thing just to be able to meet them as well and hear their story. So now what we want to do is kind of get more into the specifics of what we do day in and day out. So Jeannine's going to share a little bit about our hospital ministry. We're going to share some stories, and then we'll kind of the big picture of what we hope to be doing in the next 6 months, and then where Samaritan Aviation is at.
Okay, Hello. Okay. So this is our hospital team, and these are our 4 national employees that go every single day Monday through Friday, we visit patients at the house sick or hospital. Anyway, these guys are just amazing. Like, their hearts are so for Jesus, and they are awesome Christians, and just a blessing to our team, blessing to me personally. Just really awesome Papua New Guineans that love the Lord. So these guys go and visit them every day. What we do as a ministry, after we pick up the patients from the river, we bring them in to WEWAC, and then we load them into our ambulance. And each patient receives a patient pack, that orange little pack that you see. And inside that, we give them just some necessary items for the first couple days, kind of that they're there. We put it all in a bowl, which is where they get their food from the hospital, and we put in soap, toilet paper, water, spoon, and then we wrap it up in that lap, which is a sheet or a piece of fabric that they use for either a blanket or the sheet that they lay on in their bed. They don't provide things for the patients there, and it's their family members that do that for them. And so a lot of our patients, most of our patients are from that big long river, and they don't have family in WEWAC. Sometimes people that live closer to town on the river, they will have people that have gone to school there and decided to stay there, so they'll have some resources there and have some family there, but most don't. But one of our most important things that we put in this little pack is this solar-powered audio Bible. It's got the Old Testament and New Testament. It's got worship songs on it, even has a little Bible study on it. But recently we've implemented a resource called King of Glory in Tukpisin. It's King Belong Glory. And this is a compressed gospel message in its entirety from creation to Christ. And it's 70 stories that have been pushed down into 15 visits. So if we can see that patient 15 times, then they can have the full story from creation to Christ and walk away with a clear understanding of the gospel. What we have is we put it on one of the iPads, and it's this little video that they watch, and it's about 15 to 20 minutes, and we sit with them and watch with them. And then afterwards we discuss it, we ask questions, they can ask questions, and then we just story. That's another word in Tukpisin. It's just, we just talk with them, and they tell us about them, and we tell them about us. And we let them know, hey, we are here for you. We brought you really far away, and you don't have any kind of resource, and you have no money. And so they depend on us, and we want them to be able to depend on us. So we give them things that they need, and they can ask us for things. So that's what we do as far as visiting them every day, seeing them, presenting this gospel story to them.
Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to kind of share 2 contrasting stories. I'll talk about the first story, and then Jeannine will talk about the second. Just so you can kind of get an idea of the patients we're dealing with and kind of our day-to-day operations. And so our flight schedule is divided by main primary pilots. And so on this specific day, I was the primary pilot. I got woken up to a phone call just after the sun had risen about a patient that had been bitten by a snake and had early signs of venomation. And so they're called death adders, and they're quite deadly, hence the name. And we have to get to these people within the next few hours in order to be able to administer the antivenom in order to save their life. And so I hustled up, went to the hangar, got the plane ready. Another staff member went and picked up a doctor, brought her to the hangar, and then we were able to take off and land right here. This is this is just right on the main Sepik River. So I just landed on the river, and then the motorboat came to us with that patient. You can see her in the boat right there. And so in this circumstance, the doctor was able to administer the antivenom right then and there to kind of stabilize her. And then we put her in the plane and flew her back. So kind of during dry season, when the water recedes, is when their big gardening time is. And that's usually when we get a lot of the snake bites, is when these people are in their gardens and they get bit by the snake. And so we loaded her up in the plane. We were on our way back to the airport to take her to the hospital. And then I got another message saying, hey, we had this woman who had been bitten as well, and she's showing signs of venomation, so we got to hustle up. So we landed. The doctor took this patient to the hospital, got some more medicine, and then we flew to this place as well. It's called Pog. We landed on the river, but then this one I was able to beach, and they were able to bring the lady to the boat, put her in the boat, and then put her right next to the plane, where the doctor was able to give her the medication that she needed. And so once again, without this medication, she most likely would have passed away. Put her in the plane, headed back to the hospital, landed, and then I got another call of another girl that had been bitten that same day. So this was another close location. This was a lake. So I landed on the lake, taxied, and then beached right along the lake shore. It was super hot at this time, and so he went ahead and put this girl in the plane to get her in some shade where the doctor was able to work on her and give her some antivenom. And so we loaded up, flew back, and then actually when I got home, the kids had made some snake-shaped cupcakes, because this was a record. We've never had 3 snake bites in one day. So I was hot and tired, and it was a fun thing to come to, and it just shows you that the team is always concerned about what we're doing and stuff like that. So the following day, we were able to visit all 3 of the patients. So we just went over there, made sure they got their patient packs. We made sure that they were understanding of how to operate the audio Bible. We kind of just shared our ministry. I made sure they were okay, and then all 3 of them left that day. And so they were able to return back to their village within 24 hours of getting bit by the snake. And I truly believe that if we weren't able to respond the way that we did, that most likely these people would have passed away from the snake bite. And so in this story, we were able to save 3 lives, but we were only really able to minister to them for 1 day. And so it was a life-saving trip, but then we didn't have much time on the back end to minister to them. So now Jeannine's going to kind of tell another story.
So this is a contrasting story where this lady stayed a long while. But with the snake bites, because it's just the 24 hours, we really tried to get that first meeting with them and show them the King of Glory, that first 3 episodes, which is kind of a big story of the whole gospel message in 3 little stories. But that's a number one thing we've got to do, and then show them how to use their audio Bible, and then tell them they've got this resource on it now. It's uploaded onto that audio Bible, and so they could hear the whole 70 stories on that solar audio Bible. Now, this story is about Imelda, and her story goes like this, where Matt gets a call from our director and says, hey, we have a patient out here in May River, which is the furthest place that we fly, and she is pregnant, and 9 months pregnant, and she's had a complicated pregnancy, and she had gone into labor and had been in labor, I'm not sure, I think a couple of days, and then it stopped progressing, and at that time they found out that the baby had passed away, and so her elders in her community had reached out to Samaritan Aviation and said, hey, we need some intervention here. She can't have this baby. And so they called Matt, and he was on his way. And these guys actually live outside of May River, so they had to travel to one of those aid posts to be picked up. And when Matt got there, they're straight bush. And so she and her husband are so fearful of the idea of going to town. Town is scary to people that live out in the bush. They've never seen cars. They don't see a lot of different kinds of people. They don't see white people, and they need money to be in town. And it's a big thought for them to go to town. And so she was really scared, actually hitting her husband, like pleading with him, like, do not put me on that airplane. No way. And the people in her village was like, yes, you need to. And so Matt loaded her up onto the airplane. And And later we would find out how the baby actually died was that she actually had a cyst in her uterus that was growing larger and larger and actually ruptured her uterus. And so this was her condition, ruptured uterus with her baby inside. So she needed intervention. So we got her to the hospital, and actually that day I was able to go see them, because it's a long flight. Well, it's an hour flight, and she had been in this condition for a while already, and Matt was like, I think they're really hungry. And so we went and brought him some food, and I sat with him, and I just talked with him and said, hey, this is what we're here for. We know you don't have any family in town. They call them their Wantok. And I asked him, I said, do you know of any family here? And they're both like, no, we don't have anyone. But they think people will come from their village to be with them, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't happen. But from their village, it takes like nearly 7 days for someone to get into town. And so that's not happening anytime soon anyway. And so I sat with them and chatted with them. Well, me just chatting because they did not want to talk to me. And so I just told them, I said, we're going to come see you every day, and we're going to ask you if you need anything. So please let us know if you want things or need things. And we'll just get the things that we think you need, And they just nodded their head, and I just prayed with them, and I said, you're here, the doctors are here, trust them. The nurses are here for you, please trust them. Because sometimes people, they just don't trust each other. And people will come and they'll leave because they're just like, the nurses are trying to kill me. I'm like, they're not. But it's just a different mentality. So anyway, we visited her every single day, and we hear back, and about a week later, she's still in the same condition. And our whole team's like, okay, like, we have the mentality where it's like, this is an emergency. We would think that this would happen the next day, this surgery. And in Papua New Guinea, it's not like that. She needed blood in order to have surgery. And they have a little bit of a blood bank, but it's for like really emergencies. And in order for her to have surgery, she needed her family to come donate blood. That's how they do that. And so they waited a week and a half, and no family came. And so Samaritans sent out a text to other missionary families and said, hey, this lady needs blood. She needs to have surgery. Can anyone come and donate? And we had a couple people come and donate. And that day the power went out. And the power going out in Wewak is so common. It's not unusual. It goes out maybe 2 or 3 times a day. But high functioning facilities have a generator backup. And the hospital totally has a generator. But today it's not working. It actually was broken. And so this lady didn't get surgery, and all the blood that was donated didn't last because they weren't able to refrigerate it. So now it's 2 weeks into 2.5 weeks. And we're just, asking around like, why isn't she having surgery? And they're saying now that they don't have a skilled surgeon to perform this delicate surgery. And so I guess this person had gone out to another facility to help in another way. And so we waited and we waited and we waited, and we visited her every day, and she was one of our first patients to go through all of the entire King of Glory story. And she was there for 4 weeks, and finally she was able to have blood given to her, and finally they were able to do this surgery. And we're praising God. We're like, thank you, Lord, this is happening. It took so long, and in our heads we're thinking it took too long, And we have to work with the hospital because we want to be invited and we want to be welcome there. And if we butt heads with them, or if we try to like step in like we know better or something like that, that doesn't go over well, and they wouldn't want us to be there. And so we have to work with them, and we have to show grace to them with what they have and the resources that they have. So the next day we went and saw her, and it was me who actually got to go, and she's outside sitting on a chair, and I'm thinking, how are you out of your bed? And she's outside because it's hot in the hospital, and she was sweaty, and she wanted to have, wind blowing against her skin. And so she's out there, and I'm like, here, let me help you back to your bed. You should lay down. You should try to take care of yourself. Keep your feet up. And she just looked at me and just said, I'm so thankful for Samaritan Aviation, for you guys coming to get me. And I'm so thankful that I came to town. And I'm so thankful to God that you guys were able to visit me every day. And so I was like, I'm so thankful too. And so we visited with her that day and went home. And I was worried because I could see she had the surgery, but I didn't feel like she looked very good. Well, the next day, one of our teammates went and saw her, and she couldn't find her in the labor ward, and was asking about where she is. And they found her in the ICU, on a ventilator, unconscious. Now she's septic. And my heart sinks because I'm like, I knew this was going to happen, And I was so heartbroken, and our whole team was heartbroken because it's like, what's going on, Lord? Like, we just delivered this message to her. She could go home to her village, and she could totally share this. And every day her heart went from, I don't want to talk to anyone I don't know or trust anyone, to throughout that time, her heart opened up, and she listened to these stories, and she storied with us and talked with us. And she was saying, I'm so thankful to God for saving my life. And in my heart, I'm thinking both ways he saved her life. But she ended up passing away at midnight that night. And our teammate Sarah came and told me, and I was just like, no. And my heart just broke, and we talked about it, and we prayed with each other. I told the kids, and it was just like, Lord, why did you let this happen? And then my eyes were more opened, and I was like, God, like, you're so good. She was gonna die, and you kept her alive for a whole month, and she heard every single message from creation to Christ, and she heard everything. And her heart went from solid rock to so gentle and tender. And we just have to leave with the hope that she accepted Christ in those meetings with us, and she met him. So I hope that God is so good, and he's so gracious, and he knows everything, and I hope to see her one day. So that's her story, and it's a sad and a happy one.
Yeah. So you could just experience so we average about one patient a day for our annual, how many patients we pick up. And so each one of these patients have a story. Each one of these patients are important. And now you kind of have an idea of how we minister to them. And so we really hope during these next 6 months that we'll be able to meet with you guys in your home group, at your houses for coffee or whatever, because we really do have a lot more stories to share. And we really want to tell you more things about what Samaritan Aviation is doing. So now kind of what I want to do is talk about the next 6 months. And so later today, we're going to take off and head to see Jeannine's family in Utah. We're going to be away for the holidays, and then we're going to go to Colorado to Mission Training International, and that's where we did our pre-field training before we left. And so now they have like a transitional training for when you get back from the field. And it's really important for our kiddos, just because our kids have been living in a third world country. They've had to make a lot of sacrifices. And then as we transition back to our home country, there's a lot of emotions and stuff going on, and so we really want to make sure that we do it smoothly and properly. So we'll be gone until the beginning of January doing that training. After January, we're going to put our kids into school here, and then we really hope to kind of relax, refresh, and get ready to head out, because we plan on going back to Papua New Guinea in the end of May. And so during those 5 months is when we really hope to be able to sit down and talk with you guys, because we missed you guys. We have so many great friendships here that we want to reconnect and catch up. So now what I kind of want to do is just kind of tell you about where Samaritan Aviation is and where we hope Samaritan Aviation is going. So this is actually a picture of a plane. That's me. We flew down to the Gulf. And so we hope in the future to be able to mirror our ministry that we do in the East Sepik down to the Gulf province. And so we've already been able to establish relationships with the hospitals down there. We have an agreement with one of the Christian hospitals to build a house there. And so we'll actually operate at the hospital. So we'll keep our plane there, and we'll live on the hospital grounds. And so big prayer is we need more pilots, we need more staff, we need to get that plane that's here in the States over there to Papua New Guinea. And so there's just a lot of resources that we're in need of. So if you could pray for that, that would be great. We're really hoping to get that operational soon. We've been going down there maybe 3 or 4 times a year to do some recon missions and find areas that we'll be able to land and help. And the need is definitely there. This is just a closer picture of the Gulf province. And so instead of one massive river, the Gulf has tons of finger lakes. A lot of them are brackish. And so there's plenty of villages that we're able to contact there because of how many rivers there are. And so there's actually 2 hospitals there. There's one government hospital, and then there's another Christian hospital that we'll be able to send patients to both hospitals. So that's a big, big picture prayer request we have, and we look forward to being able to operate down there. So we'll stay in the East CPIC. We'll maintain that, but we just kind of want to grow with hopes of being able to provide hope and access to the people down in the Gulf. Another huge prayer request is that we are able to purchase land in Wewak. And right now we're renting a real small facility for all of us to live in, and we were able to purchase some land, and they're just in the very beginning process of building. And so they just had some big dozers out there moving dirt, and we're hoping to put homes for all of the families there. So we're in the process of that. So we would love some prayer to get that going, because we look forward to moving into a new house compared to the small apartment we live in right now. And then lastly, we just want to thank you guys. We're so grateful for Grace. You guys have been here since the very beginning. Whether we've been training up in Kingdom Air Corps in Alaska, and Grace has sent teams to go work up there while we were training, or whether we're having dinner with a missionary in Papua New Guinea. And, there's a bunch of struggles, and a lot of times missionaries don't have a sending church that supports them like Grace does. And so it's been such a wonderful testimony for us to share just how Grace has been with us from day one in 2017 all the way until now. We look forward to that continued relationship. And there's just so many people here that have been so impactful in our lives. And so thank you guys, because we really wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have been successful. We wouldn't have been healthy without all the support and love that we've gotten from you guys. So thank you. That concludes our talk. We're excited to see all of you guys. So after the song... Okay. After the song, we'll be down here. Please come say hi to us. We'll give you a contact card for our information, and we look forward to hanging out with you guys.
Oh, we got a question. We didn't know we were doing questions, but we got a question.
Thank you. What is the biggest conflict or belief in Papua New Guinea that you have to go up against as a barrier?
Well, I would actually defer this to Nate, because he probably was just training on that. And there's that's a whole tribal animism kind of thing. But I think the cool thing about Samaritan Aviation is we are able to pull them out of that. They're usually in a traumatic event in their life that they're experiencing, and then we're able to be there for them, to comfort them, to fulfill their physical need, also their spiritual need as well. So we're kind of unique in our way of doing things. But that's a whole talk in itself, I feel like.
All right.
Oh, man. We were really hoping to do questions and answers at the home groups. But go ahead, Deja. What do you got, girl?
When you guys take them to the hospital, do you guys take them back, or do their families come?
Ooh, good question. So, just because of the amount of flights that we do, we could never fly them back. But what Samaritan Aviation does is we give them the money to get back via road and boat. Mm-hmm. Nice. Yep.
Very good.
Oh, man. Really, I only let one person ask one question, but I'll let you.
Well, this is two, Eileen, for you.
I'm taking advantage of it for those people that are shy.
Okay.
I don't have that.
Yeah, we know.
Do the bush people, do they speak Tok PC, or is it
Yeah. Yeah, so there are like over 800 languages spoken, but the majority of people, and I would say 85% of the people that we come in contact with speak Topisan, which makes it very grateful for. Hey, no more questions. Invite us to your home group. Invite us to coffee.
That's
we
right.
can't wait to see you guys.
Cut
and
'em
we
off.
look forward to answering those questions.
All right, I'm going to pray. Cutting them off. Heavenly Father, we love you. We just do, man, we thank you for what you're doing. We thank you for what you're doing in the world. Man, we thank you for the way that Matt and Jeannine have been able to be a part of that story that you're writing and in the lives of, man, the people of Papua New Guinea. We thank you that we get to hear about it, and man, we praise you for the mighty things that you have done. We think of this time that they're home, and we would be praying for rest. We'd be praying for just time of healing for their hearts, for their kids, Lord, is that they would just have a good time with their friends, that they would be able to relax and just to debrief and be able to go back rejuvenated and ready to serve again, Lord. We ask for safety on their travels. We ask for good transitions with family and friends, and for their kids just to have special friends wherever they go. We think of those who are still in PNG right now. We think of the families who are still serving, Lord. We would ask for safety and for people to step up and fill roles that Matt and Jeannine have been doing such a wonderful job at. We ask for rest for them and for perseverance through these times. We also think of the areas that they're looking to go into in the Gulf Province, and for all the different deals and situations that need to be settled in order for that to happen. And we would pray for wisdom for the leadership. We'd pray for finances, for people to do the work, so that they'd be able to reach out to that area as well. Again, we love you, and we just do thank you for all the things you do. In your name, amen.